Has this ever happened to you? The smell of a baking pie suddenly takes you back to childhood, or a familiar melody makes your heart ache, and you're right back there, in a time and place you were once so happy. One sound, one scent, one photograph, and suddenly the present moment fades away. You sit in silence, but inside a wave washes over you. There are tears, but not from pain. They come from somewhere else entirely. This isn't just nostalgia. The Portuguese have a special word for it, saudade, and they consider it one of the most precious gifts of the human soul. Today you'll discover how this feeling can nourish you, not break you, how memories can become wings, not an anchor, and why perhaps right now is the perfect time to remember and to give thanks. This feeling arrives unexpectedly, but it speaks to us of what truly matters. Many people call this feeling nostalgia and believe it's no way to live. You should be looking to the future, they say, not dwelling on the past. But what if I told you that this very feeling is what the Portuguese consider one of the most precious gifts of the human soul? That feeling of recognition you just had, hearing yourself in these words, the Portuguese have a special name for it, saudade. It's pronounced roughly saudade, and it's not just nostalgia, it's something far deeper and far more valuable. In Lisbon, there lives a 73-year-old woman named Graça. Every morning she brews coffee in a small pot on her stove, exactly the way her grandmother taught her so many years ago. The aroma fills her kitchen and Graça closes her eyes. In those moments, everyone she's lost is right there with her, her grandmother with her soft hands, her husband with his morning cough, her daughter who now lives so far away. People think I live in the past, Graça says, but I live with my whole life all at once. The past makes the present richer, not poorer. Do you see the difference? Graça isn't suffering from her memories. She is nourished by them. She doesn't run from her past. She invites it to her table. And in that, you'll find the secret of saudade. Over the next 20 minutes or so, you will learn how Portuguese women have transformed what many see as a painful attachment to the past into a source of profound inner strength. You'll see how saudade helps not only to accept your own story, but to use its wisdom to create a richer, more meaningful life right now. And at the end, I will share 7 specific practices to help you turn every memory into a gift for the present moment. But first, let's understand what true saudade is and why the Portuguese consider it a treasure, not a burden. In the small town of Óbidos, in a house with blue shutters, lives 67-year-old Maria dos Santos. Every evening, as the sun sets behind the castle walls, she settles into her armchair and listens to fado, traditional Portuguese music. These melodies are soaked in saudade. Maria lost her husband 3 years ago. For the first few months, she couldn't bring herself to play the music. It was just too painful. But one evening, a melody began on its own. Her neighbor through the wall was playing his guitar, and Maria had a revelation. I was crying, but not from grief, she explains. I was crying with gratitude for the 40 years we had together, for the fact that I can still remember them, for the love that doesn't disappear even when the person is no longer beside you. This is the essence of saudade. It is not a longing for what you have lost. It is gratitude for what you have had. It's not regret for time that has passed, but a celebration of its value. The Portuguese poet Florbela Espansa wrote, "Saudade is the joy of sorrow and the sorrow of joy." It sounds like a paradox, doesn't it? But therein lies its wisdom. When we remember something precious, we feel 2 things at once: a sadness that the moment is gone, and a joy that it happened at all. Most people focus on the sadness. The Portuguese have learned to focus on the joy. Neuropsychologists have discovered something remarkable. Nostalgic memories activate the same regions in the brain as the experience of gratitude. Dr. Constantine Sedekidis of the University of Southampton has proven that nostalgia, when experienced in a healthy way, can boost self-esteem, strengthen our sense of connection to others, and even help us cope with loneliness. But there is a crucial difference between destructive nostalgia and nourishing saudade. Destructive nostalgia says, "The best days are behind me. Life isn't as good anymore." Saudade says, "How wonderful it is to have such beautiful memories. They make my life richer." In Porto, there lives a 69-year-old woman named Isabella. In her younger years, she was a seamstress, making dresses for the whole neighborhood. Today, her fingers aren't as nimble, her eyesight not as sharp. It would be easy to feel sad. But Isabella has created a special corner in her living room. There sits her old Singer sewing machine, hung with photos of brides and gowns she made, surrounded by scraps of the most beautiful fabrics from those years. Every Sunday, she sits beside it with a cup of tea and converses with her memories. I don't sew dresses anymore, Isabella smiles, but I sew stories. I weave tales for my granddaughter from the memory of each dress. My hands may no longer hold a needle, but my heart still holds the beauty of those years. Do you see how it works? Saudade doesn't make you live in the past. It teaches you to draw resources from the past for the present. The Portuguese say, Saudade is a bridge between who we were and who we have become. This bridge doesn't lead you backward. It carries the wisdom of the past into today. And you know what's most surprising? Saudade isn't just about loss. It works with any significant experience. With a first kiss and a last conversation with your mother, with your children's birthdays and their wedding days, with the morning coffee of your youth and the evening tea of today. Every meaningful experience in our lives can become a source of saudade, a source of deep, nourishing connection between past experience and present wisdom. But how does this happen? How does the pain of loss transform into gratitude for what was found? I'm going to tell you 3 stories that reveal the mechanics of this transformation. Story number 1, 72-year-old Consuela from Coimbra couldn't bring herself to enter her son's room after he passed away. For 2 years, the room remained untouched. Friends advised her to let go of the past and clear everything out. But one day, Consuela decided to do something different. She entered the room not to clean it, but to speak with her son. She picked up his books, breathed in the scent of his clothes, looked at the photographs on his desk, and instead of pain, she felt a presence. I realized that Miguel wasn't gone, Consuela says. He had just shifted into a different state, the state of memory. And in that state, he can be with me always. Now, once a week, Consuela visits the room not to grieve, but to visit her son. She tells him the news, asks his advice on important matters, and thanks him for all he taught her. The room has been transformed from a place of pain into a place of connection. I used to think memory was what was left instead of a person, she explains. Now I understand. Memory is the way a person stays with us. Story number 2. 65-year-old Rosaria from Aveiro had dreamed of traveling her whole life, but circumstances never allowed it. Her husband was afraid to fly, the children needed her, and then the grandchildren came along. And so, at 65, Rosaria found herself alone and realized it was too late to travel. Her health wasn't the same, and her funds were limited. For months, she was tormented by regrets over her unfulfilled dreams. Then she created what she calls travels of memory. Every day, Rosaria began to visit the places she had dreamed of, not physically, but through the memory of her dreams. She would pull out her old issues of National Geographic, play music from different countries, and cook their traditional dishes. And with each of these journeys, she realized something. Her dreams weren't about specific places, but about beauty, discovery, and new experiences. I never made it to Paris, Rosaria smiles, but I lived with the dream of Paris for 50 years. That dream made my life richer than any trip ever could have. Now I am grateful not for what I didn't get, but for what I was able to dream. Story number 3. 68-year-old Fatima from Braga lost her voice after thyroid surgery. For a woman who had sung in her church choir her entire life, it was a catastrophe. Singing wasn't just a hobby, it was her way of praying, of expressing joy, of communing with God. Fatima spent months in silence and bitterness. But one day, while listening to the church service, she had a profound insight. She began to sing silently, with her lips, with the movement of her hands, with her whole body. She discovered that the music resonated in her heart just as clearly as it once had in her throat. I thought I had lost the ability to sing, Fatima explains, but I gained the ability to hear singing in everything, in the sound of the rain, in the laughter of children, in the silence of prayer. My voice was gone, but the music had grown larger. Today, Fatima teaches silent singing classes to other women who have experienced loss, helping them find the music where it seems to have vanished. Do you see the pattern in these stories? Each of these women went through the same transformation. First, there was loss and pain, then an acceptance of that pain as part of her story. Next, a search for the valuable thing that the loss brought or revealed. And finally, using that value to enrich the present moment. The Portuguese call this the alquimia da saudade, the alchemy of saudade, the art of turning the lead of loss into the gold of wisdom. But wait, you might ask, isn't it easier to just forget painful memories and move on? Research shows the opposite is true. Trying to suppress or forget significant memories makes them more intrusive and painful, precisely because we are running from them. Saudade offers the opposite strategy. Don't run from your memories, learn to dance with them. Don't fight with the past, but draw its lessons and its beauty into the present. 72-year-old Amelia from Leiria puts it this way: memories are like ocean waves. If you fight a wave, it will knock you over. If you learn to dive under it or ride with it, it will carry you. What's more, Saudade makes us more human. When we accept our capacity to feel the past so deeply, we better understand others who are going through similar feelings. Our own pain becomes a bridge to another's heart. Studies by Dr. Tim Wildschut have shown that people who learn to experience nostalgia in a positive way are more empathetic, altruistic, and better at building deep relationships. This happens because Saudade teaches us the most important lesson of all. Every moment of life is precious precisely because it is fleeting. Every person is dear precisely because our time with them is limited. And every experience is meaningful precisely because it can never be repeated. And now let's move from theory to practice. How specifically can you use the power of Saudade in your daily life? I'm going to share 7 proven practices that have helped hundreds of Portuguese women turn their memories into a source of energy for today. Practice 1. The Memory Nook. Create a special place in your home dedicated to important memories. It could be a shelf, a small table, or even a nightstand. The key is that you see it every day. Arrange objects there that connect you to cherished memories: photographs, jewelry, books, dried flowers. But don't just place them, compose them, like an artist creating a still life. 69-year-old Lourdes from Setúbal arranged 3 items in her memory nook: her wedding photograph, a seashell from her honeymoon, and a yellowed letter from her husband. Every morning when I have my coffee, I look at these things and I say, "Thank you for this happiness I was given," she says. Remember, this isn't a museum of the past. It's an altar of gratitude. Change the items from time to time, adding new memories. Let this corner live and breathe with you. Practice 2. The Gratitude Memory Ritual. Once a week, perhaps on a Sunday evening, set aside a special hour for remembrance. Make a cup of tea or coffee, put on some quiet music, and take out a photo album or simply settle into a comfortable chair. Choose a single memory. It doesn't have to be a major event, just a simple, dear moment. Close your eyes and mentally return to it. Feel the scents, the sounds, the textures of that time. Now here's the key. Ask yourself not why is it over, but what am I grateful for that this happened? Find 3 specific things you can thank this memory for. Every Sunday, Carmen from Viana do Castelo visits the memory of summer evenings when her children were small. "I don't grieve that they've grown up," she says. "I thank fate that I had the privilege of raising them." Practice 3. Letters to your past self. This is one of the most powerful Saudade practices. Write a letter to yourself in the past, at a time when you were struggling or when something important was happening. Tell that younger version of yourself that everything will work out, that the pain will pass, that losses will lead to discoveries, that hardships will make you stronger. Share the wisdom that the years have brought you, but most importantly, thank your past self for her courage, her patience, for the decisions that seemed like mistakes but led you to where you are now. Teresina from Guimarães wrote a letter to herself on the day of her divorce. "My dear, you think your life is over, but I know that you have 20 years of the most real living ahead of you. You will find love. You will see your grandchildren. You will find yourself. Thank you for being brave enough to start over. You can write these letters and never send them, or you can burn them after writing, releasing the past with gratitude. The power is in the dialogue between today's wisdom and yesterday's experience. Practice 4. The soundtrack of your life. Create a playlist of songs from different periods of your life, but listen to them in a special way. Not to feel sad, but to remember who you were in those moments. Play a song from your youth and ask yourself, what qualities did I have then that I can use now? Put on a melody from your years of motherhood and ask, what wisdom came to me from caring for my children? Each song becomes a key, not to sorrow, but to the resources you have always had. Esther from Evora listens to the waltz she danced to at her wedding and says, I don't remember that my husband is gone. I remember that I am capable of loving that deeply, and that capacity to love has never left me. Practice 5. Sense stories. Scents are the most powerful conduits to the past. Use them consciously to build bridges between memory and the present. Identify the smells tied to important moments in your life. Your mother's perfume, the scent of pies from your childhood, the smell of salt air from a family vacation. Find ways to recreate these scents in your home, but inhale them not to escape into the past, but to bring the qualities of that time into today. The scent of your mother's perfume can remind you of her tenderness, and you can offer that same tenderness to yourself today. Practice 6. Wisdom for the grandchildren. Even if you don't have grandchildren, imagine that you do. Or think of the young people who could be your spiritual heirs. What stories from your life could teach them something? What mistakes could you warn them against? What discoveries could inspire them? Transform your memories into wise tales to be shared. This turns every experience into part of a larger legacy you leave for the world. Practice 7. Seasonal rituals of gratitude. In each season, create a special ritual of gratitude for the memories associated with it. In spring, remember all the beginnings in your life. Your first job, the birth of your children, a move to a new home. In summer, the moments of joy and fullness. In autumn, the times of harvest, accomplishment, and wise decisions. In winter, the periods of rest, reflection, and inner work. Each season becomes a reminder of the different facets of your life's journey. The most important thing in all these practices is to remember, we are not working with the past for the past's sake, but for the sake of the present. Every memory, filtered through Saudade, becomes a resource for today. As 70-year-old Doris from Visu says, I don't collect memories, I grow wisdom from them. We began this conversation with the image of a woman at a window, carried back to a distant May by the scent of jasmine. Do you remember that feeling of sweet pain when your heart clenches at a memory? Now I want you to imagine that same scene differently. The same woman, the same window, the same scent of jasmine. But this time, as the memory of her son's first steps fills her heart, she doesn't shrink from the pain of time lost. She straightens her shoulders with pride for the life she has lived. What a blessing, she thinks, to have such beautiful memories. How much love my life has held, and all of that love still lives inside me. This is Saudade, the transformation of every memory into a source of gratitude, every loss into a reminder of the gifts you received, every ending into an acknowledgement of the value of what was. In Lisbon lives 78-year-old Consuela Mendes. After her husband passed away, she became what her family calls the keeper of the stories. Every Sunday, her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren come to visit, and she tells them stories, not just about the past, but about how that past helps them understand the present. I don't live in the past, Consuela says. I live with all of my past, and it makes my life feel dimensional, like a symphony, not flat, like a single note. Consuela's grandchildren say that after hearing her stories, they see their own lives differently. They understand that every moment will one day become a memory, and so they value the present more. Do you see? Saudade works not just backward, but forward. It teaches us to live today in a way that will give us something to remember with gratitude tomorrow. And now for the most important part. Everything we've talked about today will remain just beautiful words unless you take the first step right now. So here is your simple assignment for today. When this podcast is over, find one object in your home that is connected to a precious memory. Take it in your hands. Close your eyes. Go back to that moment in your mind And instead of grieving that the moment is gone, thank life that it happened. Say it out loud. Thank you for this happiness. Feel how the quality of the memory changes, how the ache of loss transforms into the warmth of gratitude, how the past stops pulling you back and starts supporting you in the present. This is your first lesson in Saudade, the first step toward turning every memory into a source of strength. The Portuguese say, Quem não tem saudade não tem coração. He who doesn't feel saudade has no heart. But now you know saudade is not a sickness of the heart, but its healthiest function, the ability to turn any experience into wisdom, any loss into gratitude, and any ending into a new beginning. The next time a scent, a melody, or a photograph carries you into the past, don't be afraid of the feeling. Don't try to run from it. Greet it like an old friend who has come to remind you of the beauty of your life. Because your life truly is beautiful, not just in the future that hasn't yet arrived, not just in the present that slips away so quickly, but also in the past, which will remain with you forever as a treasury of meaning, lessons, and love. May every one of your memories become a reason not for sadness, but for gratitude. Not a stone that pulls you under, but a wind that fills the sails of your life today. Because a life lived with saudade is a life lived completely, with all its joy and all its pain, with all its losses and all its gains, with the past, present, and future all at once. Welcome to the world of Saudade. Welcome to a world where every memory is a gift. If this story resonated in your heart, please subscribe to our channel and give it a like, so we can continue to share stories like this one. And in the comments below, please tell us, what is one memory from your past that warms you the most?